Welcome to my final installment of this Inked Editorial series in which I cover my top 15 favorite superheroes. And today we're covering the top 5.
Number 5, Wonder Woman and Ms. Marvel.
They are the two definitive female heroines of their respective universe. Wonder Woman, of course, is more widely known and celebrated, and as seen as the standard to which all other heroines are compared. Ms. Marvel is as close as, Marvel gets to achieving that standard in many respects. However, I feel that in many other respects she even surpasses Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is an Amazon, breathing combat from a young age and imbued with the powers of gods. She is personified by a warrior's heart and the depth of her compassion. Ms. Marvel is no goddess, but she's definitely one tough lady, and she won't let you forget it. Yet she's not about the whole girl power thing, she has her more sensitive side and whatnot. One thing I love about Wonder Woman is the fact that she is a warrior. She was raised on combat. She was made for it, literally. She may be defined by her nigh boundless compassion, but she can also take charge in any situation with an air of dignity and the presence of a true leader. Her ties to Greek mythology increase her appeal infinitely, and her iconography is not questionable, as she represents the kind of independent woman that for years many would strive to be like. Just like how boys wanted to be Superman or Batman or Spider-Man or whatever. Yes, there's still a problem with DC not giving Wonder Woman a fair shake, and I really hope they fix that over time. But for now, I'll focus on the characters and leave the stories to other critics. Ms. Marvel has a similar appeal in many respects, but she is much more accessible for a number of reasons. Yes, Wonder Woman has a secret identity and a personal identity, like Superman, but she still isn't technically a human and was raised on an island of immortal warriors. Ms. Marvel is almost the exact opposite of that. The accident that made her into one of the most powerful women alive later in life happened after she was already a noticeably successful working woman in the Air Force and as well as the space program. That's right, Ms. Marvel isn't some ditzy pushover blonde. She's built in the mold but breaks the stereotype in every single way. Wonder Woman didn't have to break the stereotype. Her introduction to the world was as this woman who could wrestle with gods. Carol not only had to attain a respectful status on her own, but she had to do it while pretty much everything about her was something viewed by many to be hindrances at the time. On top of that, Ms. Marvel is just as capable a leader as Wonder Woman is, and she's not shy in combat either. As individuals, Wonder Woman is just another great idealism-based character, while Ms. Marvel represents the everyday woman's struggle in society at the time. On top of that, she's a reasonable figure who carries herself with a bit of charismatic wit and kick-butt attitude. What can I say? These girls rock.
Number 4, The Flash.
Fastest man alive, Barry is my favorite of the many Scarlet speedsters. I think it's his sense of humor and ability to make even the grimmest situations seem like nothing. That, combined with his being on neighborly speaking terms with most of the citizens in his cities, makes him pretty intriguing. And it makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. Yet, he's still a bold hero through and through. He pulls through in a pinch despite what anyone might think of him being the least mature or least developed. Is his rogues gallery laughable? Yes, it is. But let's not forget that Barry Allen was the start of the Silver Age of comics. As such, they tend to hold to the Silver Age feel for his comics. Most of his rogues gallery came from the Silver Age and became so memorable because they were used repeatedly and some used very well, such as Mirror Master. But something most people forget was that The Flash is supposed to be fun. You can have drama and fun in the same story. That's why he's such a breath of fresh air around the Justice League. In actuality, his quick thinking and ability to apply his powers to God knows how many applications is also really impressive. Barry will always be the greatest Flash as far as I'm concerned.
Number 3. Stargirl and Stripe.
Stargirl, aka the Star-Spangled Kid, is a bit fresher in people's minds. One of the earlier editorials was an entire video dedicated to Stars and Stripe and how they pleasantly surprised me after my discovering the Star-Spangled Kid in the pages of the Justice Society. For more on why I love him so much, check back to that editorial, but the short version is this. I love the dynamic between them as a sort of father-daughter team, packed with hilarious bickering and adventurous fun. I also think that it was a very innovative way of reinventing the Star-Spangled Kid and Stripesy dynamic, but for a new era, while at the same time not discrediting what came before it. I'm looking at you, New 52.
Number 2. Spider-Man.
What can I say about the web slinger except that his story is the original coming-of-age superhero tale. Spider-Man was the true everyman long before any other comic characters really started playing in that role. I don't have any particularly strong need to actually relate to any character. I'm perfectly fine with things being ridiculously out there. I remind people of this because Spider-Man is very much a character who has gathered a reputation as being the hero we all relate to. While it's true that there are elements of the character that anyone can relate with, that isn't why I read about him, and certainly isn't why I get so pissed off when I see how much he gets screwed over in the comics these days. I would get pissed off if a character that isn't even on this list is constantly getting screwed over like that. It's just bad and inconsiderate writing, both to the fans and the character. I read Spider-Man because of what he represents. Forget that he's so relatable. It's about this guy who makes mistakes, learns from those mistakes, and becomes a better person. It's about a kid who is growing up and learning his way in the world. It's about a guy who just tries as hard as he can to do the right thing, no matter how much he occasionally doesn't want to and has no reason to. The guilt complex isn't something that should be used as a crutch. We all know the shtick of with great power comes great responsibility. Well, the idiots at Marvel don't seem to understand how that works. They're using it as a means for Spider-Man to take everything into his own hands and feel even more guilty when he messes up. The great responsibility line does not imply that everything is his responsibility to fix, nor that everything is his fault when he fails. It means that he should use that power responsibly and to do the right thing with it. That's why I get so pissed off that Marvel is obsessed with making his life absolutely suck, just to make sure his conscience is always weighing on him. It's sloppy, it's lazy, it's annoyingly insulting writing, and that's it. But don't worry, I'll get more behind this later. I love Spider-Man because the struggle he represents, whether or not it's relatable. Doing the right thing, regardless of whether or not it seems to benefit you or make sense in the end.
And number 1 is...
Oh, come on, you know who that is. Yeah, it's frickin' Captain America. Do I really need to explain this? I know most people would say the same thing if Batman or Superman or Spider-Man were the number ones on this list, but as much as I reference and talk about Cap, this should have been freaking obvious. People say that Cap is the closest thing Marvel has to Superman and, in some cases, Batman. I don't disagree, but I have a different point to make. Captain America is the closest thing Marvel has to me. But you just finished explaining that you didn't need to relate to a character to be attached to them. That's right, and I don't relate to him. Rather, I didn't. I got into reading the character because of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. At the time, I just knew that he kept popping up and he seemed important. So why not see what all the fuss was about? And the more I read, the more I was fascinated with what I was reading. Captain America was that character for me. He's the one that opened my mind to applying both mind and passion to reading comic books instead of just casually glancing at them for the art and action. He was that character. But that isn't all. The more I read, the more I idolized his character. I began seeing it all unfold, and I wanted to be more like that. Captain America, the character, changed me, the person. He made me want to be that kind of person, and since then I've made every effort to live by many of those values and principles. My love of the character only grew as I was exposed to more and more interpretations of him. I saw the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon, and that cartoon freaking nailed it on the head. They caught the stern leader, dedicated soldier, man at a time, and old soul elements perfectly. I will always see that as the definitive Captain America, just as I see the animated universe Batman as his definitive interpretation. I don't just relate to Captain America. Captain America made me want to relate to him. That is a trait that is hard to come by, and the reason I will pick him over any other superhero, regardless of whatever stupid retcons, reboots, and reimaginings they put him through. You might ask me why, if I adapted to the values so much, Superman didn't have the same effect on me. Well, Superman has many similar, if not identical, values. But the way those values are executed come across much differently. It's for a different audience. It's the same sort of deal as why the Hulk, who has a lot of similar concepts and ideas to Ghost Rider, is actually above Ghost Rider on this list. The execution is different. Captain America is my personal king of comic book characters, so hail to the king. And that concludes my list of top 15 favorite superheroes. I may get to do some honorable mentions somewhere down the line, and I'll definitely do another one of these lists for villains. But until then, stay tuned, because more Caves and Crusaders and Inked Editorials coming your way soon.